Assalamu alaikum everyone. Hope you're all fine. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll continue with the database concepts. And in last video, I explained the database flat files or the file-based approach, or versus the relational databases. And this video, I'll be talking about the key terms related with the relational databases and also the relationships. One very important aspect of the databases, and that truly makes it a relational databases. So let's start. The key terms related to the databases, which are very important, and these terminologies are constantly referred in the topic of databases. So let's see what these are. So first of all is the entity. The first one, entity is basically the thing of interest for an organization. Thing of interest, and the thing of interest against which the data can held, all right, for which the data can. So this is one very important aspect of the databases. The entity, the thing of interest for an organization, like for a school, the entity can be the student, the entity can be the teacher. So these are the thing of interest against which the data they will held. And then this is the conceptual definition of the table, and the technical terminology for the entity is a table. So table is basically the collection of, it is a structured representation of the data, and it is actually the collection of rows and columns. So table is another name of entity. Table is the rows and columns in x-axis and in the y-axis. All right. Record is, and before the record you need to see the fields. Fields are basically the columns in a table. All right. And attributes, these are the features in the table for which the data is stored. So features, attribute is another name of the field. All right. So they both are same. Field and attributes are same. Field is the technical terminology, and attribute is the conceptual. So when we say the entity is, and when we say the thing of interest for which the data can be held or the data can be stored, so that data is stored against the attributes. So the attribute of a student, like if student is an entity, or if student is a table, then the attribute of the field would be student ID, student name, student age, student address, student contact number. So all these things are the attributes. And these attributes are written in columns. All right. So attribute will also be referred as field. And record is the data about one student or thing in a in an entity. The data about one student or entity or thing in an entity is a record. When we are storing the data in, and this record is stored in a row. So basically, the tuple is the, all right. So the tuple is the data related to one specific thing. Record and tuple, basically they are same, and record is the data Record is the data kept in one row, and the tuple is the data related to one specific thing, person. All right. So these are the key terms that are related with the database. Entity is a thing of interest for which the data can be held, and like student, like class, like teacher. So these can be the entity, and then the table is also the same name. So it is the technical name for entity. All right. So they both are same. There's no difference. Record is the data kept in one row, and tuple is the conceptual description of that record, and that is that the data related to one specific thing, person, or even event. Unspecific. Let's say if the table is of 100 students, then the tuple or the record will be the data related to only one person from those 100 students. And field, an entity is created or a table is created from the collection of the fields. So collection of field is actually one of the feature that describes that entity. And so these are the key terms which are needed. So basically, so if this is the table student and this is the student ID, this is the name, this is the telephone number. So in this table, now this is the data in the, now these fields, these are the fields, attributes. All right. So this table is an entity, or this can be the well, these fields, the data, let's say 112, and name is ABC, telephone number 2453, classes A1, 113, 115, ACC, some data here. So this is a row, and this row is a record, or it is also called topic. All right. So this is the detail about the table, and this is the detail about the uh, an entity and all these terminologies that I've just mentioned here. I'm sure this thing is clear. All right. So let's move forward, moving to the next. Now the second part, that is the relationship. Before we move toward the relationship, we again need to refer back to the definition of the database, and that was a collection of data items and links between them. This was important. You remember I told that the database is a collection of data item and links between them. So this link is important. Structured in a way that allows it to be accessed by a number of different application programs. The key feature that I explained in my last video about the relational database, a term also used loosely to describe any collection of data. So the collection of the data is structured in some specific format and designed in such a way that different applications they are approaching them. And the important point of our today's discussion here is that the links between them, right? So the links between them. So these links are basically the relationships. So the relationships are the links or the pointers which are the key that provide relationships between the tables. So when we have multiple tables, when we have more than one tables, like we have a table and there is another table and then there is another table. When this becomes a relational database when there is a connection or there is a relationship between them. So these are the links. These are the pointers. So when we have the pointers, when we have the links between these table, let's say this is the table 1, this is table 2, this is table 3. Unless we have no links between them, the table is not going to be a relational database. So the table can only become the relational database when we have a links. Relational database. You can see my last video. I have explained the key features of the relational databases in comparison with the file-based database. So the key thing in the relational databases are the pointers or the links, and these pointers and the links they are developed with the use of keys. Now there's a discussion of keys. So keys are basically, these are not a separate fields. These are the fields, or these are the roles. Keys are actually the roles, or these are the appointments of the existing fields. All right. So let's take a look on, let's understand some very important keys in the relational databases. And these keys are number one, the candidate key, then the primary key, secondary key, and the foreign key. So the relationships, in order to understand the relationships more clearly, you need to understand these keys in detail. So what are the candidate keys? The candidate key is an attribute or a smallest set of attribute. It is attribute or smallest set of attributes in a table where no tuple has the same value. So you are going to mark the fields that will have unique values in them. So it is possible that in a table there are more than one fields that have that has the unique data. So they will be marked as the candidate keys. Then primary key. So we are going to shortlist and we are going to finalize or select one field from them, and that field will become the primary key. And primary key is a unique identifier for a table. It is a special case of a candidate key. So basically, a table is identified by a primary key. The identity of the table is the primary key. And the data in the primary key is the data that is basically used for the identity of the record of the primary key. All right. And then there is a secondary key. Secondary key is a candidate key that is an alternative to the primary key. All right. And then foreign key is a set of attributes. This foreign key is much more important. Which one is the foreign key? Foreign key is a set of attribute in one table that refers to the primary key in another table. I've marked this with a separate color just for because of its significance. Basically, when the primary key of one table is used in another table, that becomes the foreign key. So we'll discuss the foreign key and the primary key in detail in the next slides. Now, understanding the candidate key. As I said that the candidate keys, in order to understand, let's take an example of this table. A database of chemical elements contains a table element with attributes symbol, name, and atomic weight. Now, if you see this table, elements, these are the fields, name, symbol, name, and atomic weight in the columns. And as all these attributes are unique to each element, all right. All attributes are unique in a sense that you can see that the data in symbol is H, Li, Na, name is hydrogen, lithium, sodium, atomic weight is 1.008, 6.94, 22.990. So you can see that all the fields, they contains the unique data in them. So this makes all the field to be the candidate key. So all of them are eligible to become the primary key. So this is how we define the candidate keys. I'm sure this point is clear. Then if you take another example, most tables have one candidate key. So it is not possible that always we have the tables in which there are many candidate keys. Usually there is only one candidate key, which is used as a primary key. For example, in the student table, you could have an extra attribute student ID, which is unique to the each student. So this student ID is the primary key, and this is the identity of this table, student. And the data under it, they are all unique. Student ID, they are never repeated. But if we take a look on the other field, like the first name, like the second name, date of birth, class ID, so here you might found that the data they are similar and there's no uniqueness in them. So uh, most of the time the tables they have only one primary key, only one candidate key, and that becomes the primary key. Now coming toward the relationships. After understanding these keys, and I said in the start that the relational databases are the databases which are linked with each other. The tables they are linked with each other, and that is called the relationship. So what is the relationship? Is formed when one table in a database. Now, technically understanding how this relationship is established. As I said, that the let's say we have one table and then we have another table, and we want to create a relationship between them means we want to create a link between them. So what we will do, how this link, which is the basic for the relationship, this link will be established. So what we will do for this, the table, one table in database has a foreign key. Let's say this is the table A, this is table A, and this is table B. So the table A will have one key, this field, which will be the primary key of the table B. So the table A, again I'm repeating this thing, that the table A has a foreign key that refers to the primary key in another table in the database. So this is how the relationship is developed. In order to ensure, so this is the key point to understand that how the, and this is asked in many papers. This is asked many time in every other paper, that how the relationship is established. So you will say that one of the field in a table, which is a foreign key, it refers to the primary key of another table. All right. So that is the relationship. Now, whenever we talk about the relationship, we always talk about the referential integrity. And in the paper, in addition with the relationship, the referential integrity is also asked at various places. So, what is the referential integrity? The database must not contain any values of a foreign key that not match to the corresponding primary key. So when you're referring this primary key here, and here it is, let's say 112, or it is the integer number. So when it is referred here again as a foreign key, so the data is not going to be entered, or is not going to be used here as let's say one capital. It's not going to be the text or the string. So this is the main point in the foreign key, in the referential integrity. I will define the referential integrity considering its weightage in the next slide in detail. So the key point that you understood here is that in order to ensure referential integrity, the database must not contain any values for a foreign key that are not matched to the corresponding primary key. This is the point that you need to uh, just keep in your memory, and you should always refer it whenever the referential integrity will be asked. Most databases include more than one table. A school database could contain the table student and another table class that contain the class ID, the teacher name, and the location of the classroom. One value for the class ID that are stored in class table can be used as the foreign key in the student table. Okay, let me explain the referential integrity in a little more detail. As I said that this is asked, so you need to have a very clear understanding. What is the purpose of referential integrity? It makes sure that if the data is changed in one place, the change is reflected in all related record. You know, the primary key, when it is the foreign key in one table, which is referring to the primary key of another table. So it means the record is accessed from one table to the other. So change in one record in one table will be cascading update. This is called cascading update. All right. Make sure that the data that does not exist cannot be referenced. Ensure that every foreign key has a corresponding primary key. Every foreign key has a corresponding primary key. All right. All logical dependency of a foreign key on the primary key. A logical dependency, sorry. Ensures that the data in the database is consistent, up to date, prevents record from being added, deleted, modified incorrectly, make sure any queries return accurate and complete result. So these are the benefits of the referential integrity, or the purpose of using the referential integrity. And you need to, and this point will be more clear when you will understand the relationships and the type of the relationships and further various other things. So you can refer back to these points once you understand the forward point as well. All right. Now understanding the relationship, you can see that this is the table. Let's say this is the student table. This is the student table, and this is the class table. So class tables ID, this is the primary key. This is the student table, and this is the table's primary key. And the class table is connected to the student table by using a field in the student table, which is the foreign key, and which refers to the primary key of class table. This is how the relationship is established. The next part, the entity relationship diagram, I will explain in my next video, and that will be the continuity of the relationship. Till here, the concept of the relationships and then the key terminologies related to the databases, they are explained here. So wait for my next video. Thank you very much.